Hello, welcome to the Wool Winder podcast. Well, with the signs of spring and promises of the weather getting warmer, I thought today would be a good time to share with you the things that I knitted last summer. I've got Blockbuster Tees, statement cardigans, dress cardigans and V-neck vests to share with you. So come and have a look. Hello, it's a warm welcome to the Wool Winder podcast. My name is Frances and I'm coming to you from St Albans in England. Often I come to you from Cornwall, but today I'm up in St Albans. And if you've not watched before, I am a mad keen knitter and I love to knit anywhere whenever I can. I've worked in a Rowan store. I have other knitting work that I do, and I just love to share on my podcast the knitting adventures that I'm getting up to. So I've got 8 projects to share with you today, 4 summer tops and 4 cardigans, and they've got themes, so let's have a little look at those. So of the 8 garments that I've got to show you, I've got 2 Blockbuster Tees, 2 statement cardigans, 2 dress cardigans and 2 V-neck vests. And of the Blockbuster Tees, so that's from 2023, I wonder if you can guess what those 2 patterns were. So, of course, one of them is the toaster tee that I'm wearing here. And I bought this pattern in the double knit version and tried to decide what yarn I was going to knit it in. Was I going to knit it in something that Rebecca, kind of the Caribbean, had talked about, or was I going to knit it in something different? And then she brought out the 4-ply version, and that got sent to me automatically because I'd already purchased the double knit version, and I had some Rowan Summer Night 4-ply in my stash in this colour, so that's what I decided to knit it in. And it's come out, it's a very drapey yarn, so it is very drapey, but even when I look at it I think actually that's quite big, that t-shirt. And I compared it to some of the other summer tops that I'm looking at here, and it is 20 centimetres in circumference bigger than my other garments. So I had a look at the gauge and I am off gauge on the actual garment, so I knitted a test square that was on gauge, but somehow when I've then come to knit it I've gone off gauge. So little lesson there, I need to be a little bit more on it, checking my gauge. I know why I don't, it's because I can't bear the idea of undoing it and redoing it, but honestly it's not saving me any time at all really, is it? So that said, I'll show you a picture of me standing up in it. I still think it's a lovely garment and I will still definitely wear it. I put it on just now and I was thought, oh, this does feel lovely. It feels nice to wear. It's really comfortable. Yes, it's relaxed, but you know, that's perfect for the summer. And of course it's cool, soft and drapey. Yeah, it's definitely going to get worn again this summer as well. So yeah, this is a pattern I really love doing. So back April, May last year, I hadn't done an awful lot of top-down garments, and I think I'd like to do another toaster tee this year. And I think that the decreases and so forth, especially when you're knitting cotton, which is not forgiving, will look that bit sharper, which will be lovely. So I've got some yarn left from one of the other garments that I'm going to show you, and I'm hoping it's going to be enough to knit a 2-colour 4-ply version of the toaster tee that I'm hoping to get started sometime soon. What I should also add to the toaster tee is that I knitted that in a size 5, and I think next time I will knit it in a size 4, as well as keeping an eye on my gauge. So the second of the Blockbuster Tees from 2023 is, of course, the ranunculus, and I expect many of you recognise it just from instantly looking at it. This is a great pattern to knit. It's been rightfully so popular. It's a little bit unusual. So, yeah, I really enjoyed knitting it. I followed the videos from Sundragon, and I found those really helpful in just kind of helping me avoid making any mistakes, having to undo or anything, just taking the guesswork out. And I would really recommend those if you're a little bit nervous about doing it, or just like me, you want a little bit of a shortcut. This is knitted in soy cotton, which was a great yarn for showing the texture, which of course for the ranunculus is really lovely. Do I wear it? No, I don't. It's a layering piece. It needs to go over the top, and in the summer I think I'm just never looking for a layering piece, even in the English weather. I know. So it doesn't get worn. I love it. I love the way it drapes. I love the fact that you're knitting on these big needles, and it kind of seems to sit in like that, and yet when you wear it, it just goes. Yeah, it's quite an incredible, it's an unusual sort of top, and I think it's great fun. But I don't wear it. And I think what I need to do, I do want to knit it again. I'm going to knit another one in a more of a wintry sort of yarn, where it can be a layering piece, and where that will work, and therefore hopefully it will get knitted. It will get knitted. Hopefully it will get worn more. So there we go. That's the ranunculus. So here we have the first of the V-neck vests. This is the Tellin vest by Chloe Furlow. It's a Rowan design, and it's knitted in Rowan Denim Revive, which is a recycled yarn. It's a nice yarn to wear, in the sense it is really soft and comfortable, and I believe that I'm told that it wears really well. This has probably not had enough wear yet for me to be able to vouch for that, but it certainly so far is doing really well. So you've got this rib effect all around it, and I'll show you a picture of me standing up in it. And then you have the V-neck, and this first part of the V-neck is in an intarsia, where you're changing the colour over, twisting it over as you're going over onto the intarsia. Then you're picking up stitches round the V, picking up stitches around the armholes as well. And when I did it last summer, some of you may remember, I watched the video back after I'd released it and thought, those sleeve caps do not look right, and they were too flared and were kind of sticking up a bit like this. And so I undid them and redid them, and yeah, they look a lot better. And I have to do that with something, because I know if I don't undo it and redo it and get it right, it just won't get worn. So what would be the point? It would be a waste. At least that's my logic anyway. So I did that, and that's much better. Am I wearing it? Yes, wearing it certainly a lot more than the ranunculus, but perhaps not enough. And I think the reason for that is that I'm a little bit nervous of wearing my hand knits. I think you put a lot of effort into them, and I worry that they're going to get snagged or stained, or I need to be a bit braver about that, and just get on and knit them, wear them. And I did that. I've done that more this winter. I've worn more of my jumpers. I think I particularly enjoyed wearing my jumpers, getting out, walking on the beaches and what have you. So I need to continue that on into the summer. And then that gives me a good excuse not to buy so much in the shops, because with my hand knits, that can fill up my wardrobe. So this is the Tellin vest, and yeah, it's lovely, and it's a lovely design. So the second of my V-neck vest is the Coral vest, and this is a Rowan pattern by Quail Studio, and it is knitted in the Rowan hand knit cotton. I fell in love with this colour when I was working in the shop, and bought it and then put it aside and knitted it last summer. And it's again a really lovely, comfortable garment to wear. I really like this. Just like the Tellin vest, possibly it could be worn more, and that's something, as I say, I'm going to try and do this summer. So this pattern isn't actually originally knitted in the hand knit cotton. It's knitted in the Summer Light double knit with a strand of Kid Silk Haze, which is a mohair, and that makes a really lovely combination. And I know a lot of people that had knitted that. We had a bit of a thing going in the store, and then beyond after the store closed, where there were quite a number of people from our groups that were knitting it. And some people knitted it in the Rowan felted tweed, again with a strand of the Kid Silk Haze. And really you could do any sort of double knit with a strand of the Kid Silk Haze, or as I've done here, I've found a thicker yarn, which is a hand knit cotton, which is moving more towards a worsted Aran sort of weight. And I've knitted that. I've managed to hit the right gauge, and yeah, it's worked really well. And it's interesting, I was looking at it lying out when I was looking at the pieces and thinking, oh, the V-neck doesn't look low enough on this. But actually, it is in the right place. It's just that I'm not very tall from there to there. So yeah, no, I love this, love the colour. And yeah, we'll be wearing it again this year. So here is the first of my statement cardies, and this is the Nax Staten cardigan. And I'll put the name of the designer on the screen because I'm not terribly confident about my pronunciation of that. And this is a beautiful cardigan. It's probably one of the most beautiful cardigans that I've made. I really love it. It's an unusual construction in that you knit down one sleeve, you then knit the other sleeve, picking up the stitches at the back, which are a provisional cast on. And then that gives you like a bolero type shape here. And then you're knitting down this way, and then you've got a Latvian braid on the cuffs and the Latvian braid here. And I added a bit of extra edging here because it wasn't coming round very far. It's knitted in West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite 4-ply, which is a beautiful yarn, but I did feel it was a bit delicate, and I do worry about it snagging and pulling. And then going back to what we were saying before about worrying about damaging my garments, that obviously is a little bit of a concern for me. I absolutely love knitting this cardigan, and it has to be one of the most favourite things I've knitted. So you can see you've got all these, it's like a sort of field of grasses, and it's beautiful. And then it's got the Latvian braid around here, which was great fun knitting. So it was really lovely. This is a beautiful pattern. I really love it, but the issue is that I was off gauge. Again, I achieved gauge when I did a swatch, but I went off gauge when I knitted it, which was such a shame. It's still a lovely item and I would still wear it, but as you can see, it is slightly on the small side. So actually, this one, like the Blockbuster Tee, I actually went back, got the measuring tape out and thought, right, let's actually see. And I actually checked my gauge before talking to you about it because I thought it would be really interesting to know what happened. And what I found with this one was that I should have had a gauge of 28 stitches to 10 centimetres, and I actually had a gauge of 30 stitches to 10 centimetres. So actually really that is quite a bit. That gave me an extra that lost me 20 centimetres in the width of the cardigan. And so it's no wonder that it's not quite me. You can imagine that 20 centimetres would have made all the difference. So I would really like to knit this again and resolve my gauge issues and get something that I would be really pleased with, because it was a cardigan I enjoyed knitting so much. I'd be very happy to give it another go. So, but yeah, it's a really lovely design. So, statement cardigan number 2. So statement cardigan number 2 is the Pale Jacket by Quail Studio. It is an Intarsia design, and it's from the Mode Summer Book 6, I think. I'll put it here if I've got that wrong. And you can see, if you look at the Intarsia, you can see that working there, and you can see the line here, for example, where you're crossing over your yarns as you're going from one colour to another. It is knitted in the Summerlight 4-ply with Kid Silk Haze, and that gives a really nice fabric. Actually, it feels quite luxurious. It's very drapey. It does make a nice fabric, and I do like it very much. And this cardigan has got a folded hem down there, and then the band at the front is also folded over, as well as our cuffs. So it does feel like a really quite a special piece, as well as being a statement, a special piece. And that's probably why, therefore, I don't wear it very often. It needs the right event, the right occasion to wear it. It needs to be with the right clothes. Otherwise, yeah, it just, otherwise I will feel it just won't work. And of course, being this colour, I'm also slightly cautious about, being careful with it and not getting anything spilt on it and so forth. But that said, I think it is one of those items that will stay in my wardrobe like other older cardigans have and get brought out again and again, year after year. So I protect all my knitwear in these kind of bags that you can buy from all sorts of places, including well-known mail order stores. And it has a little Ziploc top along there. And push the air out of them, zip the lock up, and then they are kept nice and safe for when they're needed. So yes, this will get worn, but just not very often. So now we're moving on to the dress cardigans, and I often hear me use the term dress cardigan. I like to have a cardigan that I can pop on over the top of a dress. Particularly in the summer, I really enjoy wearing a dress, and it's nice to be able to have a cardigan to pop on over the top when it gets a bit cooler. So a lot of the things that my hand knits are dress cardigans. I like being able to choose the colours to go with the dresses. Quite often, if the dress is fairly plain, then it will show off the pattern of the knitwear, or vice versa. It might be quite a plain cardigan, and that will work with something that a dress that's perhaps a bit more patterned. So I get a lot of enjoyment out of wearing my hand knits with my dresses. So this is one of two that I knitted last year that I'm going to show you. This is the Bismarck cardigan by Annika Andrea Volk. It's a Rowan pattern, and it's knitted in Rowan Summer Light double knit. It's a lace pattern, but a very regular repeat lace pattern. I think it's every 4 rows, and if I remember rightly, just one of those rows was the one where you're doing your yarn overs and you knit 2 together and so on and so forth, and the other rows were much more straightforward. I think I may well, quite often what I do when I'm doing a lace pattern and it's a regular repeat is that I stick markers in between each repeat, and then that gives me even less to sort of have to remember when I'm knitting the pattern. But that said, I did have a bit of a nightmare with this cardigan in the sense that I knitted one of the sleeves wrong and ended up having to almost undo the whole sleeve and redo it, because as I said before when I was talking about the tenon vest, if it's not right, I'm not going to wear it. So it's always worth putting the effort into getting it correct. That said, I don't think I do wear this very often. Not sure I'm madly keen on wearing a lace cardigan, and I'll put a picture of me wearing this and you can see the length of it. And then I'm going to put a picture showing the pattern picture, and you can see it's shorter in there, and I should have kept it shorter, which probably actually would mean me knitting it shorter than the pattern does, than the pattern stays, because I'm not very tall. I feel this is a little bit on the long side for me, and the trouble is when you then put a longer cardigan over a dress, it then starts to almost cover you up a bit too much and hide your shape. And yeah, so I think that's probably the main reason why I don't wear it very often. I think I really need to try remember to make to a cropped cardigan, which is interesting because I'm coming up at the moment, which is a good part of what's inspired me to do this video now. I'm just starting now to think towards spring and summer and dress cardigans and things like that. And I've seen a cardigan that's just been released by a very well-known designer, and she's got it cropped. And I've looked at that and thought, yeah, that is how I want that to sit. I want that to sit on my waist. If it's a dress, that seems to be how it works for me. Right, okay, on to the last cardigan. So my final cardigan, second of my 2 dress cardigans, is the Felicia cardigan. And this is knitted in Blue Fern yarns, 4-ply. It is a combination of yak and merino, superwash merino. And it's lovely. It's a lovely yarn. It feels so nice and soft to wear. It's not a overly warm yarn. And yeah, just perfect for putting on over a dress to keep you a little bit warmer. The pattern is a raglan pattern. You can see that you've got it's top down, and you've got this lovely lace detail coming along here, which I really love. This was a nice, very straightforward pattern particularly once you got past that part to do. But even here again, you have markers, and it made that straightforward. It is a top-down pattern, and what I'm finding with a cardigan is that you by doing top-down, you're losing that structure that you have in knitting bottom-up. And I've knitted Rowan for years, and other English patterns are generally were generally bottom up, and there are many advantages to those, and that is the structuring of the garment, so that you've got proper shoulder seams, means that it sits better on my shoulders. I'm going to see how I get on with this, because I love this so much. I love the design of it. I love the yarn. It feels really nice to wear. As I say, it's a superwash, and I was nervous about that. I was worried that it was going to stretch. I have now knitted 3 things, I think, in Blue Fern yarn superwash, and I have found that as long as you're careful with it, really careful in how you handle it when you're washing it, then it won't stretch. It won't grow. I did find that my sleeves on the Daft Days cardigan grew whilst I was trying to get the circumference of the sleeve to give a little bit. I ended up with the sleeve growing in length as well. But I found that when I reblocked it, I actually managed to get the sleeve length back to what it was. So yeah, I would say it's not something to be scared about or concerned about. So, and I'm knitting something else in a Blue Fern yarn super wash at the moment. The cardigan has got lots of lovely details. It's got a slip edge detail along here, which is really pretty. I've done an Italian bind off on the sleeves and on the bottom, and I found some beautiful buttons just in the local sewing store in St Ives. So it's beautiful. It's really nice, and I'm really pleased with this jumper. And I'm going to be wearing it. I know I'm going to be wearing it lots in this coming spring, summer time. And I'm looking forward to knitting more dress cardigans. So that's all my cardigans that I knit last summer. But I thought I'd just pull something out of the archive before I finished. And this is knitted in Rowan Summer Light 4-ply. And I will put the name of the pattern and the designer, because I think I'm going to get it wrong, up there just to make sure. And this was a really interesting pattern, and that's why I thought I'd share it with you. I love it. I love the bunting. I love the way the bunting runs around like that. Obviously, I had to be super careful, and there was a certain amount of undoing and redoing my mattress stitch. But I love the pattern. But the cotton is knitting Fair Isle in cotton. It's quite unforgiving. The cotton does not have the give that wool does, even when you block it. It does give a little bit on wet blocking, but still not like we would normally expect wool to. And so that does make it a little bit harder. And fortunately, you can't see it super close up, but I can assure you, if you could see that it wasn't quite perfect. But it's got that lovely hand knit look. So, but I love it. It's good fun to wear, but it is a statement piece. It is something that's got to find the right outfit to put it with, but it's also something that's quite nice to wear to some kind of summer knitting thing or what have you, because it is a real hand knit. And it's got these lovely buttons on, which I love. Every time I get it out, I sort of think, oh, I love those buttons. And these are from Textile Garden, and can you see they're all different colours? So it's the same button, but in different colours. And I thought that just added a bit more fun to the cardigan along with that. And maybe if I was doing it again now, I'd do it in a V-neck. I don't know, but it's a lovely cardigan. I love the shorter sleeves on it, which the Felicia cardigan had as well. So that is all my knitting. I'm really looking forward now to what I'm going to knit for this summer coming. I've got lots of ideas already starting to go around in my head. But for now, I'll say thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, and you haven't already, I hope you'll subscribe. And we will look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. And until then, that just leaves me to say, take care, happy knitting, and see you soon. Bye-bye.